If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune into the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on? They'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home. Yeah.
What's up, St. Louis? Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the STL Bucket List Show. I'm your host, Marissa Farrell.
And I am your other host, Luke Farrell. And we're excited to record episode 60 today. We have a special episode today. But first, I got to thank my guy, Matt, in the back on the ones and twos, cutting up a perfect episode every single Wednesday for YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, every single platform. And then, of course, our friends over at the Regional Arts Commission of St. Louis. They're the largest public funders of arts and art programs right here in St. Louis. I'm wearing their shirt today because when you support art, you
support St. Louis.
So we got a very special guest today. Many of you that listen have probably had their food before, but we got the owner of Grace Meat and 3. We got Rick Lewis. Thanks for coming in, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So excited. Yeah, and again, like, not only have you guys probably had the food, but you've probably requested to get Rick on the show. So we're making dreams come true today.
And that, but also the people that listen, but then also a lot of the guests we've had on have been like, we asked them their bucket list spots and they're like, oh, Grace. Oh. So like,
which is one of ours too.
You know, Kevin, Kevin Lynn Bachman, they were all like, that's our favorite place to bring our kids or whatever it might be, family. And like even us, like it's just a nice place for us to bring family, and you can sit there and you don't have to feel like it's just like it's like a restaurant. I love the counter service and the staff is always
feels
great.
Like home. I always say it feels like home when you're going to Grace. So
that's mission accomplished.
There you go.
There
right
you go.
There. Yeah. So we always kick it off just learning about you, your upbringing. So if you want to talk about your family, your support system, your roots, your ties to St. Louis, and just dive into that.
So kind of grew up a little bit all over St. Louis. My dad has a small real estate brokerage, and you might need to give me a few questions in this because
you're just gonna.
I mean,
well, tell us about your childhood, kind of like growing up, where you grew up in St. Louis, what school you went to, stuff
South
like that.
County, Kirkwood. Went to school, high school Lutheran South. Faith's always been part of our family dynamic. Just good kind of middle class upbringing. My dad worked super hard to provide for our family. You know, he came up via southern Boot Heel, Missouri into North City. And then, grew up. I think him and my mom met at like downtown post office.
Okay. True love story.
Yeah. Before real estate came into the picture.
Yeah.
I think they coined the term going postal probably after my father.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
And then he got into real estate.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think they had, he always kind of had that like small business entrepreneurial type of deal. And so I was raised around that. They owned a pizza store when I was very little. I don't really remember it, but they did that for a few years. My mom, super just like loving, nurturing type mom, very involved.
Mom.
Yeah, shout out to mom. She was, just amazing. And I had challenges kind of through schooling and stuff like that. School was like a tough thing for me.
Yeah.
So I did have a lot of good teachers that
Shout out
I had
to teachers.
I had some rough teachers, but I had some good teachers that really supported me and, helped me get through that stuff.
Nice.
That's amazing. So, we also want to hear about, since we're married, we kind of want to hear the love story with your wife and stuff like that. So how long into adulthood did you guys meet, and kind of tell us a little bit about that?
So, we met, we were both working at Monarch in Maplewood. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that restaurant, but it was like a fine dining spot around for, I don't know, like 10, 12 years, I think, something like that. I was a sous chef there. She was bussing and waiting tables. And yeah, we started hanging out like
Yeah.
friends, you know. So we've been together, I think 12 years. We've been married 10.
Okay, awesome.
And yeah, we started hanging out, going out after work, things like that, and started dating. And it was like when I was like, don't even, like, when we're at the restaurant,
Don't even look at me.
don't look at me, like, don't smile, nothing. All right, I'm all business,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Because you were the sous chef.
Yeah.
This is serious.
You know,
like-
it probably wasn't like ideal.
It happens though in that industry, like so easy, doesn't
You
it?
know, and I mean, yeah, you're all working all day, your friends, you're hanging out.
The hours are late.
Yeah,
Like
the
it's
hours
just
are late.
stressful and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
And so yeah, we met, started dating. Yeah, she got me going back to church. Like I was kind of I was a little rough around the edges for a very long time.
Yeah, that's good.
And yeah, so like real quickly after that, you know, there was actually a sermon that got me really thinking about marrying my wife. And I got a ring and like
Aw.
popped the question after church. Like she had no idea. It wasn't really like hugely thought out or planned.
Yeah, you just had this intuition. You're like, I got to make it happen.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And it was definitely one of the smartest things I ever did because
Aw.
she's much more smart and beautiful
Than you were.
than I am or could have ever hoped to.
Well, that's good.
pull
We
together.
marry up around here.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's what we do.
you know,
So
Aw.
yeah, that's kind of like the quick history on that.
That's gorgeous. I love it. What's her name again?
Elisa.
Elisa.
Yeah.
Pretty. Shout out to Elisa.
Yeah, shout out to Elisa. She's amazing, and really, like in the context of our business, she is the big motor behind everything. She doesn't, you know, I'm the face, I'm the guy you see all the time, day-to-day operations, stuff like that. But man, she is like the organizer and just machine behind the
keeping
thing.
you on track.
Yeah, I
and-
mean,
Yeah.
for real.
because it's more than just cooking. You know,
Yeah.
there's so much more that goes into
so
it.
much.
And you need somebody. So like you guys are like a real family business over there. I mean, it's
Yeah.
you, your wife, and like it's just
Yeah, that's it as far as core. I mean, we have some people are starting to hear more about this, but we have some partners and Adam Wainwright, pitcher. You may have heard of
Okay.
him.
I knew when
You
he
might
went
have
there.
heard
I
of
didn't
this
know
guy.
that. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember when he was
Wow.
there because I drove by there and there was a huge line out that day that he was handing out food.
Shout out to Adam and his
Okay.
brother.
That's
Great
dope.
people.
Yeah, they're amazing people.
Yeah,
I heard.
amazing people. And really, you know, just wanted to put us into a position to be able to succeed and see us grow and things like that.
So he was a customer for a while, and then he
Yeah,
was like, "Dude, I
yeah.
love this stuff."
So
man."
we met. Actually, I didn't know who he was. Like, and I was,
You're not a fan, like a huge baseball fan.
you know,
or-
like I love, you know, watching Cardinals baseball. My wife loves going to games, but like I couldn't tell you.
who is who,
Who's
what number.
who.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's all for like the vibe, the entertainment, like
Yeah.
it's
But people
the
are like, dude,
energy.
that's
that-
Adam Wainwright. That's a future Hall of Famer.
Adam makes fun of me on the regular basis. Like he'll FaceTime me in the dugout, you know, with people, and it's like, oh, so yeah.
Do you know
so-
this guy?
Yeah,
Do you
like-
know this
you're like,
guy
"So I
going
don't
down the
know."
line?
Oh, well, it's your hometown,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
baseball team. But yeah, we started talking about hunting and fishing and
Yeah.
gardening and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And and then became just good customer, brought his family in, got to know him over, you know, a couple of years. And so that's kind of how that came about.
That's
That's
super
cool.
cool. I didn't even know that. I'm surprised I didn't know that. But yeah,
It really wasn't talked about a whole lot. Like, you know, he's such a good dude. And he's just like, I just want to see, you know, I'll do whatever, but I'd like to see you guys just
keep growing.
do
This
your
thing.
thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Not changing. Just like let's just
Yeah.
help you. Let's give some fuel to this fire and just keep it going.
you know, so
He does a lot. Like he's a big in the community as well. Like what he's done in St. Louis, and you know he doesn't talk about it or anything, but his foundation and all that, like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
incredible. So we could get him on. Maybe another one. You and him could come on.
There you
We'd-
go.
he's a busy dude.
I know, but hey,
Busy
after this
dude.
season, I'm surprised he came back for another season. But you know, and he's hurt right now, so we'll see. But we'll talk about that later. So I wanted to talk more about the kitchen because you guys, I didn't know you met in the kitchen. So has food always been? I know your parents were kind of like, they were in real estate, they owned the pizza stop, but that wasn't really something you did as a kid. I mean, was your first jobs like in kitchens, or was it?
So first jobs was like working for my dad, right? Like,
helping him out.
I've been working since I was tiny. So it's
Yeah.
like, here's a lawnmower, you're going to go out there and,
Right.
make a few bucks. And,
Yeah.
and then it was doing demo work, and then learning how to rehab houses. And I just did not enjoy it that much,
Yeah.
And I looking back, I mean, it's like, I don't know that everybody really enjoys that right away. It's like after you've learned some skills, you might start enjoying it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I did not have a lot of direction, and I was a wild dude. Like, and
We
I
get
wanted
that.
to, yeah.
We get that.
Yeah.
Everyone has a little wild time. We get that, where you're like, your parents are like, oh God, what are we going to do with your child?
You know what? My parents, though, they didn't. Like, and
They didn't
they
give up on you?
No, but, a lot of the teachers, man, they're like, man, we didn't think you were going to make it. Like, we thought, you might go to jail or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were getting in
You
trouble
were
and stuff
running,
like
you were
that.
running
Yeah.
around, yeah.
I was running around with a rough crowd. Great people, but rough. And I wanted to move out of my parents' house, and probably because I just wanted more like freedom.
To be more crazy.
To be more crazy. And I didn't want to work with my dad anymore. And they were like, well, you need to get a job. Like, we're not going to flip that. And so I started trying to get a job in restaurants, and like, because I enjoyed cooking.
Right.
I took like, whatever, a home ec class.
Yeah,
probably
like
'cause
culinary or
it's
whatever.
like a blow off
Sure.
class.
Yeah.
you
You're like,
know?
I get to eat cookies
there's
today
girls
during
in there.
class. Yeah.
And,
Making pizza.
and in high school, I was always the dude that like knew where the party was or made the party happen. That was like my first step into entrepreneurship. Probably was
Planning a party.
Oh yeah, actually, fun fact: DJ Moff, man, we were like party throwing competitors back in the day. Not real, like.
But it was like he would have
Who's
one.
He
doing
would
it
throw
bigger?
the big, yeah.
Who's
We
doing it
both
bigger?
were throwing.
So he's been
huge
in that.
parties.
He made his life out of parties. Then.
Oh, yeah.
He crushes it.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
he's definitely a lifelong party dude.
Yeah, that's
And,
funny, dude. That's a cool story.
So we met back in high school throwing parties and things like that.
Nothing
And,
like a high school party.
DJ
yeah,
Nothing
man.
like it. I mean, really.
So out of high school, I couldn't even get a job anywhere. Like
Yeah.
they're like, you don't got any experience, you don't know anything, and then finally I begged my way into like a bar and grill, and then succeeded and kept wanting to try to learn more about cooking, and went into like family owned Italian spots, and then really like my love for cooking blossomed when I started working at an American place downtown. It's no longer there. Josh Galliano was the chef there for a long time, and that's kind of where that
It sparked.
sparked. Yeah, he gave me this Michel Bras book, and I was like, I didn't know food could even like look or be like this.
So this was fine dining stuff.
Yeah, and that really, working with farmers and doing everything from scratch. Like I had no idea, like.
You just got a frozen bag from the bar and grill.
No, it wasn't quite that bad, but it
Yeah.
was just different.
Yeah,
you
it was just
know,
a
it was
way
just
different
next level. And the food
experience.
scene back then in St. Louis was different, right? Like niche was a brand new thing. I think Kevin Nashin had just maybe acquired Sydney Street. I don't know the exact
yeah.
timeline, but like things
People
were
were starting to like pick up and actually do some great stuff.
things were different, you know, and so it just ignited this fire, and that's really where I got into like the gardening and hunting thing, was just meeting these farmers and
being inspired by it, and you're like,
yeah,
oh, this
just
is
really
amazing.
inspired, and you can grow all these different things, and they're beautiful, and there's a rhyme and reason to how it's done organically and things like that. And
I was going to say there's so much skill to that. I would love to learn how to, like, when we get our house, I want a garden in the back. But I'm like so nervous of like not being successful.
just get out there and
know?
plant a seed,
Just
man.
do
Just
it.
plant a
I know,
seed.
but I'm like the water.
You can do so good. You're so good at all that stuff.
I'm going to try.
And you just learned it all just from trial and error, just from failing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I messed that batch up. Let me try it again.
Yep. And then, and then I started reading and getting books, and, now you got
YouTube. And,
YouTube and all the stuff that you can find anything.
Right.
But yeah, that's how that happened. So Josh left American Place, went to Monarch, and I was learning so much from him, and I was just, soaking it all up. It was just like, wow, so cool. And started working there and worked my way up to like the sous chef position, and met my wife and my girlfriend at the time. I was like, oh, she's cute. Yeah. Actually, her nickname was Cutie Pie. Still to this day. I just recently changed her name in my phone from Cutie Pie to Elisa because I would share her contact, and then everybody
people
would
are
be
like, who's that?
Yeah, that's your wife. It's kind of weird.
Cutie Pie.
But this was still her contact from those 10 years,
From
12
way
years
back
ago.
then.
So cute.
That's how I have some people in art, like some of your friends, I have their names spelled completely wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you just keep getting new phones and you keep switching. So that's hilarious. Now you're probably like, you can't find her contact anymore. You're like,
because you're still looking for Cutie
does
Pie.
happen a lot, actually.
That's funny.
That's so cute.
So
I love it.
that's kind of how we met in that. And then when Monarch announced that they were closing, her parents had bought a building. Her dad had a construction company by trade, and they had purchased a building down in South City with the intention of remodeling it and then I think leasing it out to somebody, and wound up getting immersed into the restaurant business.
Yeah.
That was Quincy Street Bistro.
Okay.
And so when like Monarch announced they were closing, like I was getting these job offers, and that was like first time
that people were reaching out to you.
I was just kind of like in Josh's shadow at that point, and people were reaching out, things like that. But I really felt drawn towards, if you want to call it helping them out, or like just the family dynamic of that. And really had no idea what I was doing. Like looking back, like I just knew from running a kitchen out kind of perspective.
Yeah.
And they took me down there one day, her dad, and was like, what do you think about what's going on here? And I was like, well, there's definitely some things that need to be worked on and changed. And so they brought me on, and really I took a step back, like financially. It was like, it was kind of rough at that time. And
so this was their lease, the people that they leased to, or this was, they actually had started the business
so it was
with them,
like,
kind of?
Yeah, they had started the business with them. They were partners.
Right.
They were supposed to be silent partners, but things weren't running the way they were supposed to. So they kind of got pulled into it. And they brought me on. They still had the partner. And I was kind of like, honestly, I was kind of like embarrassed at first because I was like, there's a lot of frozen stuff. It just went, it was like total other end of the spectrum from where I was.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we'll give it time, and, we'll start changing things. And so they bought out their partner. And then at that point, they pretty much gave me full creative freedom to
do what you wanted to do.
Yeah, to do what I wanted to do. And Elisa was working. At that time, before that, she was working part-time at Monarch and part-time there. She would come home like crying, like, oh my gosh, this happened today and this happened today. And so that was kind of part of the thing, I think, pulling at my heartstrings to like go see if we could
fix this.
Yeah, go make something of it. And I actually sat down with Kevin Nashin from Sydney Street, Peacemaker. And because I had always kind of loved what he was doing and wanted to learn under him.
Right.
And I sat down and talked with him, and he was just like, man, he's like, there are always going to be jobs for someone like you. Like you're talented, you're gifted. I can tell your heart's already in this thing with your in-laws. So, go give it a whirl. What's the worst that could happen?
Right.
And so he really was the dude that kind of pushed me
it.
along to go over there. And once we started changing things, social media was like, it was totally different then.
How long
too.
ago was this? When was this?
golly, it's like 10 years ago or better. So
2012,
yeah, I think Instagram was like brand new at that
nobody
time.
really used it for business.
And
or
nobody
anything.
really used it.
Yeah, it did. It came out around 2013.
And you know, I don't know how far along Facebook was, but really I just started taking pictures of what we were doing.
Yeah.
Crappy phone, like just
Crappy phone,
Yeah.
crappy
Pixelated.
pictures. Like I just recently, maybe a year ago, started deleting stuff.
some of your old stuff.
Yeah, because it's just like
You're like,
ridiculous.
Damn.
Quality.
Yeah,
bad.
and we just started kind of like posting stuff, and then it was so organic. It was like, oh, you know, I met Kat Neville here, you know, and then food riders would come in. We'd get like a little ride up here, and a little ride up there, and then Ian Frobe came in, and I was the dude that was like super paranoid, like someone was gonna come in, we were gonna get
At the wrong time.
at the wrong time.
Yeah.
We were changing so much. We had no idea really
Staff
what we
wasn't
were
really
doing.
probably prepared for the changes.
Oh,
yeah.
no way, dude. Like it was, we cleared house so many times there. It was just insane.
Yeah. yeah.
It was, I mean, literally
Yeah.
like
That's crazy.
the horror story is what you think.
Mhm.
So, you know, we started changing this stuff. So I was I printed off pictures of all these like food critics around town, and I just hung them up on the wall. I was like,
If you see them,
yeah,
let me
you
know.
see
Guy.
them.
Let me know.
And
Yeah.
it
Make sure
kind
their
of
water's
worked.
full. Make sure
That's kind of funny though, because with those pictures up, it kind of subliminally like gets you to work harder because you're like looking at these people like I need to
I'm being
impress them.
watched anyway. Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, like now you're like, okay, like I all know them now, but it's just different. Yeah.
I mean, we were doing like ultimately I was cooking food that I just like loved, and it was just like sometimes a farmer would pull up with his, you know, truck, and I'd just buy groceries off the back of his truck, or I'd just get inspiration from something. It was all just comfort food, right? But yeah, like, you know, I didn't know anything, dude. I didn't know about the James Beard Foundation. I didn't know, like I did, but I didn't, you know, like I knew.
Sure.
You didn't know it was a possibility or anything.
Yeah, you know, and then Ian Frobe comes in, I guess 3 or 4 times and reviews us, and actually it might have been before that. There's someone else. I can't remember his name, but I think that was our first post-dispatch review. Then Ian Frobe came in, and then he contacted me. I was like, "Hey, I'm doing this issue," and I don't know if he told me or not, but he's like, "We'd like to, you know, nominate you as like a chef of the year." And so then that happens, and that newspaper article comes out, and then I guess it was like a couple months later, then we got James Beard nomination.
Wow.
And that just like
How did that feel for you?
flipped. I had no idea what it even
Yeah, because
meant.
you're like, okay,
Like, who's James
great.
Beard?
Yeah, like I knew, but I didn't know,
Yeah.
you know?
You didn't know how cool it really was
Yeah.
until you look back on it. You're like, dude, that
And
was freaking
I'll
cool.
never forget it. I get a message from Nate Hereford, who was the chef de cuisine at Niche at the time.
Yep.
And he was like, buckle up, baby. He's like, things are going to change. And I was like, what? And
What does
the
this
next
mean?
day, I mean, we were just,
People really just came out and were just like,
Yeah.
I need to get a piece of this.
yeah.
You know?
And Mike Emerson like sticks his head back in the kitchen. He's like, you need to help back there. We were just drowning. We had all hands on deck. We had like Elisa's dad, mom, dad,
Everybody. It was a family
her
affair in there.
brothers,
Yeah.
her 2 brothers, her 2 sisters, her cousins.
Yeah.
Everybody was in that mug working.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool thing, and just like a really pretty special time. But yeah, it was like, you know, talk about learning under fire. That was
And that was
like
2014. Then.
something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. So that's almost coming up on 10 years now.
Yeah.
So. Wow, that's crazy.
Pretty wild.
So like
That's
it's really
crazy.
cool though, because it's like it's a true testament of like, you know, taking a chance, doing the right things, and doing what you love. Because like you're doing what you love. You're not like trying to like fit in anybody's box. You're like, this is what I like to cook. This is how I like to do it. And taking that chance was probably the best. Like that conversation you had with Kevin was probably like one of
It was huge.
the best,
you know?
little conversations you ever had looking back at it.
And I think like a lot of people tend to look at like it's the environment, you know, it's more the environment than it is like playing the cards you're dealt kind of thing. And I think that was a perfect example of like, I mean, we're in a location that was really like just off the beaten path,
Right.
you know, and we're just cooking with passion and doing what we loved at that time and really focusing on like our customers. And I think like my training leading up to that led into that because I'd be back in the kitchen cooking, and then I'd run out front and go check on everybody and make sure they're having a good time. And I was
Running in
like,
circles.
yeah. And then, during that period, eventually I brought on a good friend of mine, Chris Taroni, to run the kitchen. And then I was running more out front. And it just kind of evolved. But man, it was wild.
So then when, tell us the Grace story. I want to hear kind of
how far after that
Yeah,
did Grace come?
so we went from Quincy Street to Southern and, met Mike Emerson and talked about, opening something together. So we opened that chicken joint and it was great. And then in that mix met Wainwright and really it just became a complicated kind of scenarios, big group, a lot of chiefs. And so it was like, all right, let's go find our own thing to do.
Right.
And so that's what we did. And we built Grace really quick. We signed a lease. We built it out in about 3.5 months and we just let her rip.
Okay.
And looking back, we didn't really have time to do a whole lot of planning.
Right.
But it was definitely wild. So, we opened up, we didn't quite open up with as much steam as we thought we were going to because it was Quincy took off like a rocket ship. Southern took off like a rocket ship.
This will be easy.
You're like, this will
pop off.
Yeah.
And
wow. It opened up and it was and it did good, but it wasn't what we were.
Comparable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And looking back, it was probably a good thing because it gave us time to get more infrastructure and systems in place,
Do it all
and
right.
And then from year 1 to year 2, took off like a rocket ship. And we were just rocking and rolling. Mm-hmm. And we did, opened up for brunch. Yep. So we were brunch, lunch, and dinner. We opened up an hour earlier on Saturdays and Sundays. We had a full brunch menu. We had blue plates every day of the week. We were just being very ambitious. We were we weren't saying no to anything. So we were just yep, we'll do it. Yep, we'll do it. Yep, we'll do it, And I was really running myself ragged kind of during that period. Mm-hmm. And then COVID hit. It was year 3.
So this is about 2019 when you got established, the building?
I believe so. I'm the
it's
worst person in the world to ask for timelines.
We wrote some stuff down, but we're he's whatever you wrote, that's right.
Yeah, I guess that's accurate,
Yeah, and COVID was hell. And actually, do you remember watching their videos of you guys were putting up the videos of all the things that you were doing and the cuts you were making just to keep your employees.
We kept everybody employed, we didn't know if it was
I do remember that. Yeah.
From business that we woke up the morning, everybody saw it, right? Yeah. Chicago shuts down, St. Louis is coming. You hear different friends announcing, we're going to be closing, we're furloughing, we're doing. And we didn't know what was right or wrong. What we did know is our partner called us that morning, Adam's brother Trey, and he was like, hey, I think we should reread your mission statement because I had a dream about it and I think we should read through that thing. And, basically it says that, we value our customers and our employees as if they're family. And so we went into that and we're like, well, family doesn't leave family high and dry kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And we had just launched the late night window down there in September. So we had the walk-up window built out, which was just an amazing thing.
It was a blessing.
It was an enormous blessing.
Because I remember being super hyped up about the late night, but then I was then it just shifted right to
and it worked out because we were picking up from Grace all the time.
And the late night was great. Yeah. I mean, it was busy.
Good neighborhood for it.
But then you couldn't be out there late night anymore. Wasn't working.
But we were able to continue to serve food, and so at the time we didn't know. From I guess the safety perspective, whether it was the right call or the wrong call, but we just felt we owed it to our partners, our landlord, our employees, to steward what we already had going as well as we could. And so that was what we did. And it was wild. I mean, the way people showed up during that time, just lying around the building. And I'm telling you, dude, we went, once again, like I am survivor type dude, like, you know, going gets tough. We're going to push through it and figure out a way to do it. And we launched like online ordering. We launched in-house delivery. We, shortly after all that stuff, getting that rocking, you know, and then we're figuring out Square's not robust enough to support all this stuff, and we're losing tickets in thin air, and we couldn't throttle how many orders we got in a certain period of time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so what's that show that just came out with like Shia LaBeouf or whatever his name is, and they've got the tickets printing off the thing. I can't think of the name of this. It's some Netflix show or something, and tickets are just printing like crazy.
That was
and everybody's losing them. That was it.
Like
But you were getting dings. It was like, cha-ching, cha-ching,
the kitchen's
cha-ching,
like,
cha-ching. And you're like, I want this, but I'm like, I don't want this.
It was insane, dude.
Is that when you had to like change the time, like time slots, like pick a time? Did you ever do that? Like come pick up at 7:30
We assigned,
or something?
now we figured out that we just assign time slots. Like you order a pizza and they tell you it's going to take 45 minutes. That's what we do.
And even though it's way less, because it's a lot less most of the time, but you're just like, let's just be safe. Let's say an hour, you know.
But you got to control it somehow, you know. And at that time, there was no control. It was just.
And you guys were surprised at how many orders came.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we never really got this many calls. Like, were you guys a carry? You guys were probably doing carry.
We were doing carry out, but not like that.
It was phone and like.
We did phone orders. We had talked about online. We had talked about delivery. Like, they were all things we were talking about, which was great because it put us in better position to kind of launch into that. But a lot of that stuff was on fly. I mean, I remember Elisa's like stressed out to the max on the phone with Square, like trying to they were making buttons like for us. They were doing a ton of stuff for us at that time. It was nuts.
Because they also wanted to be, they're like, oh, we want to keep you as a customer too. Because they were probably struggling too. Everybody was struggling.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it was a lot to learn like on the fly. And then we launched like a barbecue pop-up, which I feel like a lot of people didn't even hear about because we were really the first people to do like a satellite pop-up during COVID too. And it was because the dining room has another door. So we just pulled that door out, put another window in and vinyled over the windows. And we had the smoker out back because we had pared down the menu just to fried chicken. Yeah. So we had the fried chicken side. And then since we had all these employees and not as many roles, we then launched barbecue at the other side.
So you did that to keep your staff. You're like, how many different ways can we earn money?
How can we give them a job?
So you didn't lay off, like you just kept everybody. I mean,
no, we just kept rolling.
That's beautiful.
It was awesome.
Really, that's crazy.
And
we would get so excited picking up our brown bag from Grace. I'm like, what do you want? I'm ordering Grace tonight and whip it.
But even more amazing than like keeping everybody on was how much you guys and everybody showed up.
Yeah.
And so then we were like, well, we felt so blessed and fortunate to be able to stay open and keep everybody on that we wanted to try to give back. And so we had started trying to get things rolling to do a nonprofit, and then the Gateway Resilience Fund, I think Gerard and some people were getting after it a little quicker. And so then we just started donating to that. And once people heard that we were then donating, they ordered more food.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of people that were still, because, it was really a lot of uncertainty at that time, And so there's a lot of people that wanted to help industry that, were nervous about picking up food and things like that. So people were buying food, not picking it up. So then we're getting hundreds and hundreds
of orders
that people weren't picking up. And then they were sending us notes saying, hey,
give this to somebody.
Yeah,
I remember that.
So that's where Giving Grace came from. And so then we started paying forward meals to people.
Is that still on there? That's still.
So we still do
I think I see. Yeah.
Now we've just switched to each quarter we pick a different nonprofit locally that we give to.
Okay.
Cool.
But yeah, that was kind of how.
Because you were like, well, I don't like people were making orders, and you like looking at the note. You're like, oh, this isn't even going to anybody.
Yeah,
like, we're just wasting food at this point.
Well, it's like, all right, you can pocket it, but then it's like, we got to do something with this stuff.
Yeah, so, you're like, I got to give this.
Yeah, out. Run out and feed the homeless tonight.
So that I mean, literally, like there were days where we sent team members out to just give out meals to
Yep.
people. I put a few posts out there like, hey, if you're just like, having a rough day or,
Come pick something up.
come get something. And just a lot of love, man. It was like very moving
Definitely.
to see how that all kind of unfolded. Like at the time, it was like
And
obviously
you guys
very
were
stressful.
very blessed in the fact that you guys were able to make it work. Like a lot of restaurants,
Yeah.
and a lot of restaurants with multiple like it just got
Oh my
harder and
gosh.
harder. And
It
harder.
is harder. Yeah.
And you like the fact that you were able to make it work, but then like you probably inspired other people to do it. And then now looking back at it, you're like your business is set up almost a little bit better because now you're a little bit more efficient with all those things that you wanted to do.
We do more carry out now than we ever did.
That pickup window is still just busting every time I go
We
there.
streamlined the model, which like a little chef part of me dies every time we do that, but it's really a better kind of business model,
Sure.
more scalable.
When you're not doing just like a plated meal, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I get
you
that.
know.
So let's talk about your name because you're talking about all these blessings that you've gotten. And so let's circle to Grace and Grace Meat Plus 3 and what does that all stand for?
Yeah.
How do you break it down?
Yeah, so meat and threes are like town restaurants, right? Usually a cafeteria or a counter service restaurant. You would they'd have a daily menu. You go in, you pick a meat and 3 sides. So we knew, seeing as like fried chicken became my calling over the years, we knew that was the like home cooking thing, that angle was gonna be like part of it, right? And then Grace is, like I said, faith is a big part of our life. And so that's where the word grace comes from. It's also kind of like pays homage to our partners and my wife. Her sister's middle name is Grace, and then one of Adam's daughter's names is Grace. And so that's how the name kind of came about.
Nice.
We want to be known as like an institution in St. Louis. We want to be a community building restaurant that is going to be there. Like, and that we loved that kind of component of the meat and 3 type restaurants. They were restaurants where, people from all walks of life, living in the neighborhood, working in the area, whatever, would come together over a hearty plate of good food. And they were just like really community building, life-giving restaurants. And so that was what drew us to that style of restaurant. And then part of why we named the restaurant Grace.
I love it.
That's so unique because like I just assumed meat and 3 was like your family, like the 3.
I
just
thought
like
it
thought
was too.
we both thought that.
Well, we
and
tried
I
to-
didn't even look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to be cool and use that plus sign
I love
too.
that.
I
And
like the
that
plus
just,
sign.
it looks better and
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah.
And, but in St. Louis, nobody knows what meat and 3s are. It's kind of like a
No.
slang
I didn't.
term.
You just
never
educated
had-
me on
I've
that.
never
I didn't
heard
know what
that.
that
Yeah,
was.
like most restaurants that were meat and 3s wouldn't necessarily like call themselves meat and 3, like in their branding.
Yeah.
It would be,
It's like restaurant.
like
Terminology.
Arnold's Country Kitchen in Nashville. That's a meat and 3. Sweetie Pies was a meat and 3.
Okay.
I think it's Mary Mac's Tea Room in Atlanta, Georgia. That's like, another kind of legendary meat and 3.
That's
Okay.
cool. I did not know that.
Yeah. That's
It
super.
definitely
Spit facts.
Because we just assume it's like, oh, they probably just have 3 kids or something. I don't know. Like, it just
definitely
I
like,
thought
makes
like
a
the
conversation point.
yeah.
Or I also took it as like grace, meat, and 3, like meat. Like give grace to God.
Yeah.
Got your meat plus me. Like
A lot of people,
a wholehearted,
Yeah.
Oh.
a lot of people start putting stuff together
Yeah.
like that, but it's much more simple. I'm a simple kind of guy,
There you go. There you go. Lay it
So,
out.
one of the coolest things was, you were on a TV show, so like tell us about that process of like, you have this place in St. Louis, it's not a fine dining restaurant, and then this Netflix show reaches out. Like, what was that feeling like? How was that process?
Oh, dude. So that's another wild story. So
was
it's
a
going to be a
cool
long
episode.
podcast.
Yeah, it's fine. This will be the Jason Bachman style
like it.
podcast.
So, okay, it's COVID, I think they shot that in August, if I remember.
2020.
Yeah. So it's kind of like in the height of like paranoia time and like what's going on and shut down and everything like that. And oh man, so this is gonna be a little heavy. So during COVID, I had one of my best friends committed suicide. So he was a big He was a pastor in St. Louis.
Condolences to you.
Yeah, he was a mentor to me, one of my best buds, and we lost him. And through losing him, another organization reached out because they wanted to have a bunch of his friends together for like a retreat. Because of COVID, Montana was shut down, so it would typically be in Montana, but it's on res ground and you couldn't get flights in and out, and there's a quarantine period and everything like that. So it was in Kansas, at Adam LaRoche's farm out there, E3 cattle ranch. And the organization's called Refuge. It's a really amazing group of people. And so we go out there, we're hanging out, very emotional period of time, just hanging out with buds, getting to know people, and come home. And a couple weeks later, they reach out again, want to know if I want to cook for a group of people. Maybe it was further down. I can't remember the exact time.
Yeah.
Bad with time. Bad with time.
Yeah.
They wanted to know if I would come out and cook in Montana. So I was like, sure. So we weren't paying ourselves at that time. Elisa and I, we were paying like our basic
Needs.
Needs. But we weren't making any real income. And so the restaurant was on plane by this point in time. We had plenty of staff, dining room still shut down. Things are going well. No more tickets stacking up like crazy. We kind of figured that out.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, we should go out on this trip and make a few bucks and get a vacation. We've never been out west. We could go to Yellowstone, do that. So we go out there, and the guest list is wild. So it was like Willie Robertson from Duck Dynasty, Kurt Richardson. He owns Otterbox and Old Elk Distillery. Mark Burnett, he's a wild man, but he was
Baseball player.
He was the president of MGM.
Oh, I was thinking of Mark Burnett baseball player. MGM casinos and resorts and stuff like that.
MGM, like the or is it MGM? The like production company, TV, movies, stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
So these were like all entertainers and like big businessmen and stuff.
Big business, entertainers. Adam LaRoche, he's one of the guys out there. So we go out there and at the same time get the call from Netflix to shoot this episode.
And you're like, what is going on?
Yeah, like, what is going on?
You're like, this can't be a real call. This is a prank call.
And I was still like, processing the death of the loss of my friend. And I'm in this, like, in Montana cooking for this crazy group of dudes that, like, it's like cooking food, I'm preparing a good meal but then we're sitting around and there's round table discussion, what do you need? What are you going through? Just heavy stuff with these like powerful group of leaders, and that's the mission of Refuge, is to really love on leaders and support leaders and pastors however they can. And so I'm talking to Netflix, but nothing's like set in stone. We're coming to the tail end of our cooking with Refuge, and then we were going to go camp in Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons for a week. And Willie Robertson goes, hey, what are y'all doing in a week? And we're like, headed home after we go camping. And he's like, my family's coming out to Jackson Hole. Do you want to come stay with us? And you could just cook all this again. I'll pay you, same deal. And we're like, yeah.
Let's keep it rolling.
Let's keep it rolling.
Vacation.
You're like, so career change.
Cooking for a week, camping for a week, and then going to Wyoming to stay in Jackson Hole, which we had never been there either. And then Netflix is calling on the same, deal, trying to set up a date. And so I was like, well, this is for sure. And we know the timeline. That is not for sure. We don't know a timeline. So we went and did it. And so we stayed with them for a week. It was amazing. They're super great people. And despite whatever, propaganda might be out there, things like that. And it was amazing. And then Netflix pulls through. So we get done last day of cooking for the Robertsons, and we fly home, and then Netflix is at our house that morning, like 4 a.m., 3 a.m., something like that. And so
you felt like a superstar that week, like for those couple weeks.
Well, it put a lot of stuff in perspective. I'll tell you that. It was, I mean, because you're like, if you've ever been to like Yellowstone or the Grand Tetons, you start realizing the vastness and the how just amazing the world is and how little you actually are.
And your business and your little business on this little street in the Midwest.
Yeah. And then, to have an opportunity to talk with business leaders like that about our business and some of the things that, life struggles and different stuff. It's just, everybody's got similar struggles. People forget about that. They see the highlights on the social media.
Everything's good. We only post about our good stuff, right?
So it was wild. So then Netflix comes over and they rent my neighbor's driveway and they rent the school across the street for all their gear.
Wow.
And it was pretty wild. So,
so cool.
And then they were super cool, super chill group of people. Dame Dash was a really nice guy, big, larger than life type dude.
High energy,
he has
funny
a great
ass
energy.
dude. Funny ass dude.
Nobody said it was a competition on whose food was better. But I will tell you, he really enjoyed that bologna sandwich, even if we didn't win.
Yeah, I didn't know that until the very end, and then he was like, "Yeah, this what was it, Sweetheart's chicken?"
Yeah.
Because it's vegan, and he's like,
Sweetheart,
I would never believe that this wasn't actually chicken.
Yeah, and he
his reaction when he bit into that bologna sandwich, though, he said, "I'm gonna look a mess. I don't even care. I'm gonna look a mess," and he just.
They leaned over and they were like, "He never eats everything. He ate like that sandwich and another one."
Yeah, and you're like, "Okay, I got this."
Yeah.
You're like, "That's a great story." Like the whole like full circle of it all happening. And then how long was it till it came out? Then it was pretty long time, probably.
Yeah, I think it was. I feel like it was like close to a year or something like that. And I think there was strict like COVID protocols, and we were getting.
Tested and just to film
to film, and they're all up in our house. Our house isn't that big, and then we're outside, and and it was kind of funny, the casting portion of that, because they were like, I guess they had like looked us up, knew I was into hunting and fishing and gardening, and they looked up the restaurant, and I was like, fried chicken, that's what you want. And they were like, we got plenty of fried chicken.
Yeah.
What else? And I was like, catfish, that's what you want. They're like, nah, we're looking for something else. It's great,
it's
right?
My favorite.
I was like, well, we got this fried bologna sandwich. And they were like, yeah, that's great. That's
unique,
perfect. Unique. We want that. What else can you do that's a little more out there? And I was like, I don't know. They're like, anything really. They're like, well, what about with the hunting, fishing? I was like, well, I got some venison in the freezer. I could do these venison country fried steaks. That's something we've done at Grace before.
Yeah.
Of course, with farm-raised venison, not backyard venison.
Yeah.
And so they're like, yeah, that's awesome. What else can you do that's more St. Louis? I was like, what other, do you have any game meat? And I was like, well, I got this beaver in the freezer. And I was like, as soon as I said it, I was like, why would I tell them that I have a beaver? Like, so we work with this farmer every now and again. He'll give me, his brother traps. He'll give me something. Crazy. Yeah. And I was like, so I can make these beaver toasted raviolis. And they were like, that's perfect.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
That's it. You got it. And you're like, well, I could have just made my staples, but then now I'm doing all, like, you're pulling out all the hats.
So now I'm this dude from St. Louis making beaver raviolis.
Right.
So everybody's like, what, man?
Down in Missouri, what they do.
Yeah.
I was like, way to represent,
And I love like how they had the hill, and then they had you on a farm, and then you're just the farm guy.
Yeah, I'm the farm guy.
That's funny. And you're like, I just live like 15 minutes from the city. I'm not like out here in the sticks and stuff.
We're like, oh, this will be great.
That's funny. That was a good episode.
Was that big for your business too?
It was, it was.
When it aired and stuff like that?
Yeah, it brought a lot of people in. And it's still bringing in a fair bit of tourism, which is
cool.
Awesome. People are like, oh, yeah, we're just fans of the show or, saw you on this, figured we'd stop in, or even like, people that just come to St. Louis for like the day as a getaway, whatever.
Wow, that's cool. So
Fresh, fried, and crispy.
That was awesome.
it was funny. He was good.
So check it out, guys. If you have not seen it, it's on Netflix. Fresh, fried, and crispy.
Episode 1.
Episode 1.
I know that was cool that they included St. Louis in that too. That was
Love
really
that.
awesome because I
Well,
feel
we
like
want to see that. We want to see us on the map
it's
more.
not just the coastal cities and stuff like that. But if you had to work one role in your kitchen every day, all day, what would it be? Like
One role?
Like just one role, like you had to do one job. Like you had to work the front, you had to work the back.
The front door.
Front door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
That's what that's what you still do, pretty much.
Yeah, I love, I just love greeting everybody that comes into the restaurant. I love getting to know our customers, connecting with people.
And you still like you're up there pretty much.
Yeah, usually earlier in the week I'm there during the lunch hour, and then on the weekends I'm typically there in the evenings.
All right, I have 2. What's your favorite thing to make on the menu, and what's your favorite thing to eat on the menu?
Gosh, that's hard. Favorite thing to eat is always whatever we're doing for a special because it's new and it's
different.
fun. We put a little bit of thought into it. We try to have fun with the specials we do. I'm trying to think what we're even. I'm drawing right now we're doing like a kind of like a riff on St. Louis Italian food. So it's like the chicken artichoke sandwich is our lunch special. So it's got Provel cheese and marinated artichoke hearts and then white wine lemon butter over the top and green garlic aioli on it. It's really good.
We need to go there tonight. We'll go there for lunch.
Yeah, we've been
mouth
running.
is actually watering right
Come
now.
on.
Come on.
Yeah, we've been
Family dinner.
Yeah, we've been running fried fish and spaghetti for Lent, so that one's
I did see
been
that.
fun. We're doing like a riff on my mom's she calls it Friday spaghetti, but it's like a vegetarian spaghetti.
Yeah.
And then as far what was the
Favorite thing to make?
Favorite thing to make? It'd be the specials too, probably.
Okay.
But if I was gonna pick something on that's always on the menu, I enjoy. Golly, that's tough. What do I enjoy? I still enjoy the things like making our bologna. It's like kind of more like artisan type of technique.
The process
to it.
of making it.
Process of making it. I love making like our collard greens. I don't enjoy cleaning 15 cases of them.
Right. But the process of getting them and just this could be nice.
Yeah.
It's like for a nightly dinner or something. It's different. So that's
I'm hungry now.
I know.
I love great. I mean, seriously, we took during Lent because I'm Catholic, and so we took my best friend, her husband there for their first time. Loved it.
That's awesome.
And then 3 days later, because it was spring break, my dad came down for lunch, and my dad and I went.
Perfect.
3 days later, and I got the catfish both times because I love it.
And see, that's the place we want to be. We want to be the place where people, they're going to come twice in a week and not feel terribly guilty about it.
No,
Or,
never guilty.
Price wise and stuff like that.
Price is right. Everyone was so nice. Do you need anything? How's everything tasting? Stopping by our tables. Every person in there was smiling. Just
I love hearing that.
it felt like you were chilling at grandma's house. You're well taken care of. You're well
when you're so
attended to.
caught up into it, you just see every little flaw of everything. So when people, say things like that, it's awesome. And
one was the dinner shift and one was the lunch, and it was the same.
That's awesome.
Same both times. So they're doing great.
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what about future goals? I mean, I know you had mentioned a little bit off air about kind of, wanting to expand probably. And I mean, keep that same. Is it Grace or is it different concepts or food?
Yeah, it would be the Grace Chicken and Fish brand, the more scaled back, lean, mean, scalable type of concept is the goal. Right now, it's a very conflicting season. I have a 1-year-old,
Oh, really? Congrats.
Yeah, so
congratulations.
My wife and I tried to have children for about 3 years and then entered into the adoption process, got home study approved at the beginning of COVID, and then waited for about 3 years. And
wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I was blessed with Samuel, got him when he was 9 days old, and he is awesome and just the smartest, happiest little dude, and really coming into his own. So that obviously shifts perspective just a little bit. So I'm kind of tormented with the conflict of always like growing the business and spending time with family anyway.
Yeah.
But that really
Even more now, so.
Yeah, but you also want to provide for your family, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's been amazing. So,
Congratulations.
we're really using this year to focus on systems and really build a great foundation. And then our
It could
goal
be
is,
scaled.
and then our goal is hopefully to start that process scaling like next year.
Cool.
Or this coming year.
Yeah, because once you have the rock solid foundation, then you just deploy your good people and start these other, like some of the guys around town, like just popping up stuff everywhere.
Oh, man,
I'm
it's
like,
wild.
and it's similar concepts, fast casual concepts, like the guys we had on Ben over at High Point and stuff like that. Like they're just popping up everywhere.
Yeah, it's wild. I'm like, man, you guys got something figured out.
Yeah, they're going crazy. So even beyond like the truck, like you do catering.
Yep.
For all events.
So we do tons of stuff. So we have the truck that's new. So that really has been a great arm of the company for us to be able to, we would have a ton of interest in weddings and things. And they're further out or, and they're trying to fry like 500 pieces of chicken during your Saturday dinner rush. And it's just like not doable. So the truck kind of solves that. We did a ton of promotional events. The truck kind of solves that now for us. We do catering, pretty much within reason, anything you need. I do like some private chef gigs now. So mostly focused on that like Montana, Wyoming kind of deal. And then another organization called Retreat at Church Creek out in South Carolina. So that kind of fills me up,
Doing, like the bison and all the curry, like just
anything really.
Just
and that's
getting to really like be creative.
Yeah, I can cook anything I want. Really, they just want me to come out there and cook. So
provide that experience.
Yep. Yeah. So that's kind of what we do.
I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
With that, we do like some private chef gigs here locally too. Where we'll go to people's homes and
Love
cook.
That.
Love
that.
And then. Trying to think of what else. A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Do you guys do like holiday specials? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That's what I thought, right? Like
how could I
get
forget
a turkey,
that?
You're like, yeah, that's the worst time of the year.
Biggest days of the year.
It's over now, so circle back around.
Yeah, so we do Thanksgiving. We just did Easter. Same
Chill
thing
for a minute.
Yeah, same thing. We're trying to get those where we can provide those days off because I want to be with my family, but I don't want to expect everybody else to work and then me be with my family. So
now like early morning pickup or Saturday pickup.
Yep. So like Thanksgiving's always early morning and then Easter was day before Saturday. So yeah.
And Father's Day, Mother's Day.
We do all of them. Yeah.
I know.
Thank you.
And you guys get creative with it. So dude, I appreciate you coming on though, man. I mean, this was a great conversation. We obviously have the golden question, which is the STL bucket list. I know. I told you last night, so you had some time to think about it. I know you don't want to leave anybody out, but like, let's do it this way. Let's do like the family day.
I always say a family day.
So like, what are some spots that you guys are all off, which is probably really rare?
Yeah.
And where would you guys go? Like, what are some like places you guys would like to eat at?
So Miley would be like an easy family day.
Yeah.
Awesome
we love Quee. We love Twee.
Yeah.
My wife craves salt and pepper calamari and the little crepes they do, and so that would be like an easy family day.
Okay.
Yeah. And date night spot.
Date night spot, probably. I mean, it would be like Peacemaker, Sydney Street, maybe like Louis.
Yeah.
Haven't been to Wright's Tavern yet, but
I see there.
You can't get in there.
We love those guys.
Yeah, it's.
So that would be like the date options, probably.
Good.
We always try to see, like there is so many new spots, but we always go to like our friends and our loved ones kind of thing. It's like, how do we go visit?
Show some love.
Yeah, go visit these guys.
And it's hard to like keep up with like the new ones because then you're like, man, then I got to get a reservation or I got to text them and see if they can squeeze me in. And it's like, let's wait till it slows down and I'll pop in there or whatever, like, because some of those new spots, like you can't even get reservations anywhere. It's crazy.
Wow. That's awesome.
It's good. Yeah, it's good for them. Hopefully they keep it up. Yeah. So
if I was going to be late night, then it'd be up late,
Yeah. Oh,
Jason and Nate.
That's good food too. That's actually good. That's good stuff. Yeah.
Great. And, he's doing something he loves and
Yeah.
And it's cool. So
And it's nice, like, for the industry, because I've been seeing so many people, like, they're popping right now. Like, they're killing it.
yeah, I think like even, Gramophone, I think scaled back their late night hours too. So it's like,
That's it.
it's just a grind. So I think that's it, really, if you're wanting.
And Nate runs it, like,
You're hungry.
Jason's going to help, but, like, Nate runs that thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, and it's good food. Like, it's not just like a breakfast sandwich. Like, I had it and it was good. And the fact
The
that
tacos are great.
Yeah.
I had a taco.
That's what I want.
I was kind of shocked. I was like, man, that was a great
You're like,
taco.
this was a good
the
meal.
salsa was awesome.
Yeah.
You just went there after work one night. You're just like, let me
Yeah,
swing
just
by here.
popped. I'll just swing by and see how they're doing. Kind of fun.
No, that's dope. But yeah, man, appreciate you coming on. I mean, do you have anything else? Or?
No, I know you have to gotta get a move on. So we'll
Appreciate
wrap
you
it up.
guys.
We'll come by and
Yeah,
Chat
we'll
it
come.
up.
Yeah, we'll come.
Yeah.
We actually will probably take you up on that private dinner. We'll have you out for one of those.
Oh,
or
man,
something.
we'd
Or
love
it probably
that.
won't be you. It'll probably be somebody else.
No,
But
we'll do it. We'll do
that'd
it.
be
We'll get it.
awesome.
But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in to the STL Bucket List Show. If you want to find Rick, you could just type in Grace Meat and 3 on socials, and if you want to order the food. But we'll post some things when the episode comes out, some links for you guys to share. But
Definitely.
thank you, Matt in the back, 1s and 2s, cutting
Matt in the back.
Matt in the back. Really, if it wasn't for Matt, we wouldn't be able to produce this episode every week. It takes a lot of time and energy to do this in 4 hands. Shout out Kevin, Liz, and the team over there. Come on now. That 4 hands, you already know. They got so many new products. I mean, we already drank some of this. But
Kids after it.
and then the Regional Arts Commission of St. Louis for supporting artists and art institutions here in St. Louis. So see you guys next week.
Today they rep St. Louis, yeah. They rep St. Louis. They rep St. Louis.